All right, Rob, let's get into these playoffs. I think they've been great. I think you might agree. Even without a lot of the big names who either got hurt or just didn't make the playoffs. LeBron James didn't make the playoffs this year. It's still been fantastic. There's kind of been, a little bit of a changing of the guard as some of these young guys who are going to be, big-time players in the future are making their presence felt in these playoffs. But I want to ask you this. I want to throw this question out to you. I was thinking about it. Who of all the playoff performers so far, I want to know from you, who is your biggest winner? What individual? And it could be a coach if it's a coach, or an executive if you want to go there. But who do you think, what individual is the biggest winner to this point in the playoffs? And then after you give yours, I'll talk about mine. Then we'll go to what individual has been the biggest loser in these playoffs. So let's start with the winner. Let's start on a positive note. Who's been the biggest individual winner, Rob, so far in this postseason?
It's Luka, obviously. And I say obviously, Chris, because he's put up big numbers but couldn't never get past the Clippers the last 2 years, right?
So and no shame in that, but you're right.
but it was like, okay, he put up all these numbers, but he couldn't get out of the first round. Clippers beat him one time. I think they were up 3-1, and then another time they just beat him in a series. And I think people looked and go, well, that's nice. He's compiling these numbers, but they ain't winning. They ain't going nowhere. And this year he finally got over the hump. And for his team to be down 0-2 and to be down 0-2 against a team that was in the NBA Finals, it wasn't like he beat somebody who was minus a star or a team that had lucked in or they were playing somebody. This was big for them. And I think that is where Luka's stock has risen because they got into the Western Conference Finals, beating a team that was the champion of the Western Conference just a year ago. So I think it's Luka.
Is he now, and I've said if they win it, and I don't expect them to, but if they win it, I think he's got a great claim to being the best player in the world. But I say he's definitely, at this point, a top 5 player. I had him 4th on my MVP ballot. I had him first team All-NBA. Would you say there's no doubt he's a no-doubt top 5 player at this point?
Oh, yeah. I think his numbers speak for themselves. He wasn't even in the top. Was he in top 5 for the MVP? He
finished fifth. He finished fifth.
Yeah, in top 5. So, yeah, he's one of those guys you look at, and the numbers that he puts up are historic, and especially for the analytic people, Chris, as well. He rates well. He just does. And so he's definitely in those top 5.
Well, I think there's a few other guys you can consider. When we talk about biggest winner, I think the name that comes to mind after Luka is Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum has emerged, I think, as a legitimate superstar. The performance he had, Rob, in Game 6, when Giannis was great, Giannis had 40+, and Tatum matched him back bucket for bucket, essentially, in a Game 6 elimination game on the road, and he drops 46. And he's only 24. That's the scary thing. I just think that he's a guy that has gained a lot. I think now he's moved up from that kind of, okay, he's a legitimate all-star player, to now, okay, he's a superstar. He's a guy that is knocking on the door of the top 5 players in the world. And so I think he's gained a lot, Rob. I think without playing, Chris Middleton's gained a little bit, right? Because they missed him. It shows they missed you.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, anybody who thinks that he's not a integral part, Chris, of the Bucks is crazy.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely. So he gains a little. Rob, I think Steph has gained some by getting this team back to the conference finals. And look, for the Warriors, that's obviously not what they shoot for. But if he can get this team back to the finals, win a ring, I mean, we'll get into that later, later on in the playoffs, of what that would mean for his legacy. And conversely, could could it mean something negative for a Kevin Durant? You know, so we'll get in on that.
Or if they lose, could it be, for Steph having another championship loss? I'm just saying.
If they lose the finals, since
either
you
they
went
don't
there,
get in, either they don't get in, or they lose. I mean,
since you went there, if he gets, do you think? I think it's better for him to get there, even if they lose. He would be 3-3 in the finals, but he would be there 6 times, which is 6 times huge. But do you think, because right now he's 3-2 in the finals, winning record, that he'd be better off getting beaten this round?
No, I'm not saying
that. To the finals
I'd never say you don't want to go to the finals, but I'm just saying losing another one is what I'm saying. Like, we even talked about it. And let's go to the other. We're running out of time on our opening segment. I don't want to get caught up in this because we didn't do the biggest loser.
Yeah, we'll get to loser. You say you trying to rush your brother?
No, all I'm just saying is...
I got Luka, too. I'm just trying to point out a few other guys. So I got Luka.
Okay.
But I'm trying to point out a few other guys.
I just don't want us to get up where we got to...
stock rise.
Yeah, like where we got to speed through the loser.
Yeah, I'm watching the clock. But, all right, since you went there, who is your biggest loser? A lot of candidates, Rob. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Giannis, James Harden, Joel Embiid, CP3, and maybe a few others, even some of the Timberwolves for basically giving that series away. But who's your biggest loser in these playoffs?
There's really 3. You
got to choose one.
I know. I'm saying there's 3. Devin Booker, James Harden, and Chris Paul. Those are my 3. Pretty close. Obviously, the 2 Suns were in the finals a year ago.
Right.
But when I'm starting to look, I'm going to say James Harden is the biggest loser. Only from this standpoint, Chris. He picked Philadelphia.
Yep.
He made another move. People looked at him sideways, and again, he's failed in the postseason. How many great players, just add Joel Embiid, who had an MVP type season, did he play with and have 0 results or not, the results you're looking for? Right. So you're starting to look at him. He's the common denominator with all these guys he's played with. So I'm going to say James Harden.
That's a good answer. And I certainly agree that the top 2 are Chris Paul and James Harden. It has been... And here's why you might say Paul, because Rob, this was his last. To me, it was his last chance. Would you agree? They'll be pretty good. They might make the playoffs next year. I think this was his last chance.
It feels like it. It does.
And a lot of it's on. And the thing is, too, Rob, it was on him. It wasn't like he was great and Booker didn't show up or Booker got hurt. You know what I mean? Or something happened that was out of his control. Chris didn't play well for 5 straight games. So in that regard, I could look at him. But I got to say this about Harden, because you laid it out, and I think you made a great case. Here's something you left out, though, Rob. That money. Chris Paul at least has his $90 million contract locked up, right, for the next 3 years. Harden is looking for the big payday. I mean, he's gotten several, so I'm not crying, not crying tears for him. But Rob, entering this season, it was a no-brainer that he was going to get a $250 million extension. Now, people think you'd be off your rocker to give him that type of extension.
No, that's fair. That the money part, I was going to go there, and I was like, well, it's really about just another playoff failure. And I just, how the NBA works, Chris. These guys get paid.
Somebody might pay him.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Somebody might pay him. And we'll sit there dumbfounded. When Doc Rivers got fired from the Clippers, he got a 5-year contract 3 weeks later for big money. Nobody made him feel like, oh, well, he failed. It looked like he got a promotion to me.
he actually kind of did, since the Clippers were hurt, right?
Right. Going from the Clippers to Philly with those players.